All right, this quick video is going to be just about the horizon line and the shadow that I would like you to perform. Again, these are around the classroom. Again, you have these as a reference. There's a horizon back there. There are some complete and a few incomplete shadows. I'll show you that in a second. We're going to do it on our final. However, I'm just going to really do it in our practice area. And here's what you think about. So for the horizon line, let me get a little closer. Just for the horizon line, you're going to just use horizontal kind of parallel lines. So again, the horizon line is a dynamic outline. And then all in the space of about a ruler. Just roughly in that space, you're going to make a few lines that are thicker right by the horizon line. I'm just going to do a small section of it here. These are dynamic outlines too. See how they get a little bit thicker and thinner? I'm not just scribbling them. I'm going to get a couple of them to go really kind of thick and thin. So you can also see how the negative space between these lines also gets thick and thin. And then maybe the third or fourth line, I can start just a little bit, just letting this taper away and kind of breaking it apart. Breaking it apart a little bit. Then that one can continue on. The next one, I might make it a little bit farther up. It's still kind of thick, and I'm going to break it apart a couple more times. So each time, these next lines can get a little farther apart and break them up a little bit more. Now I'm going to make it even a little farther apart, break them up even more, and now maybe not quite go so thick with them because we want this to appear to kind of taper away. Maybe now I'm just going to do a couple of floating little lines that have different lengths. This one might even be higher. Just a couple of little marks and maybe just a few light ones to let it look like it fades away. So it's that kind of an approach right there. And that doesn't take long. And that's going to bump right up into that center letter like you see here. Okay, that's for the horizon line. For the shadows, it's going to be something similar. We're going to get darker next to the cube, and I want to show you something. See how this shadow of my pen, it really does get a little bit darker up here, and as it goes away, it gets a little bit lighter. You can kind of see that. So this is something that really happens. So I'm going to do some lines that get thick first, and then they're going to taper away, and now they're going to start to break apart. So you do two things. You start kind of thick and close together, let it taper, which means get skinnier, and they can kind of break apart. And they can start to do that at different places. You don't want to do the exact same pattern. So I'm going to break it apart, let it get thicker at the base where it's connected to the cube. And again, yours won't go quite this fast because this one's pretty small, but it's a good little sample. I'm going to make maybe this line a little thicker. You have to stand back or hold, lean back and see if this value has a soft kind of fading effect. And this is one reason I didn't want you to outline the shadow, because we're going to use this line on the pencil line, but it's going to taper and get broken apart. Now, that's just half of it. You have a choice. Either way doesn't matter. See this one? The next set of lines goes diagonally and kind of parallel to the bottom of the cube. That's fine. Or the next set of lines can just go vertically, and either way is fine. But you have the same idea in mind. I'll do mine vertically. The ones close to the cube are going to be thicker and closer together. As I move out, I'm going to let them taper away. So down here, it's going to start to taper away. throw one right in there. Now out here, I'm going to let my lines start to break apart, and they get thinner, shorter, and farther apart from each other. So both sets of these lines gradually fade in value. So you can see how it's kind of darker right up next to the cube, and then it gets farther away here. Make sure the shadow is just a shade, if you can, darker than the cube right next to it. All right, that's all there is to it. And then you're going to kind of do that on a larger scale on your final. So both sides of your horizon line and the shadow, get nice and dark with it and let those lines get farther apart and break apart as they go away. And again, here's one that's finished, so you can kind of see how it looks when it's all done. There you go. And then you're done with the whole assignment. Well done.